Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hi.
Dave, it's the most wonderful time of the year for toy podcasts.
Is it?
Yeah, the
You have
half.
no you have no leads to bury this week. What are
No, I
you
don't. I don't. It's
what are
just,
what yeah.
it's just us. It's just the two of us kicking it
Mhm.
old school. As we,
Which
as we,
must mean
exactly, it must mean it's a list episode. Um, we
and
are
not
in.
just any list.
Not just any list. We are in July of 2024, which means we have passed the halfway point. We have the wall has dropped, the door has closed, the cutoff point has happened for figure purchases and or procurement for the first 6 months of the year, which means it is time for our best of the first half of 2024. So if you're new to the show, welcome to Adventures in Collecting. Get ready to hear uh, Dave and I talk about wax poetically about the figures that we loved from the first half of the year. Um, has become a tradition for us, a tradition for kind of like the toy collecting, blogging, podcasting community. At either the end of June or somewhere in July to put out one of these lists, and you get 20 picks. Well, maybe
Yeah,
actually,
we don't
yeah,
know
ish.
actually.
Yeah, we don't know. So quick recap. Uh, Dave and I are going to lay out our individual selection rules, and then we're going to walk you through our picks, our 10 slots, if you will, each, starting with number 10, working our way up to number 1. And we did collect some top picks from our followers on Instagram. And Dave, I know this isn't typically the time of the episode that we usually do this, but sprinkled throughout the top 10, you are going to hear these honorable mention picks from our followers on Instagram. If we have a guest on, we will have a Q&A section, and Dave is going to tell you what you need to do to be a part of this show for future episodes.
Yeah, so you're gonna see a story on the old Instagram at AIC_podcast. And when there's a new show announcement, you are going to um see that topic or that upcoming topic in in the story, and it's going to give you a little box to either ask a question or, in this case, give your pick for a figure of the year and or the half year, and that's how you can be involved. So keep an eye out on the social medias at AIC_podcast, and yeah, check out the YouTubes, watch the videos, listen to the um, potential talking head, but most likely just audio with a visual component version of the podcast. Hey, we have unboxings, we do other things.
We're trying to figure out the YouTube thing for
Mhm.
the show, trying to make it a little bit of a better experience than just a
Yeah,
little wavy line on the screen. So,
trading cards was not a big one.
I mean, the unboxings are there roughly every week, but I mean in terms of the actual show itself,
Oh, I
trying to
meant
get
the content.
some sort of thing going on YouTube. It's all listen, it's a lot of work. So, bear with
Even
us.
people who figured out the algorithm haven't figured out the algorithm.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so yeah, so you're gonna hear some picks from our followers sprinkled throughout. In lieu of having a guest and doing a Q&A section, we love hearing from our followers, from the rest of the community, from our fans. Fans is weird to say, but yeah, we love hearing from you guys. So we're definitely gonna make sure we sprinkle some of those picks in, and you'll hear them here and there.
Hmm.
Um, we also have, I guess this is a good time to mention too. It's been a while since I've mentioned it. We do have a hotline, so you can always call and leave us a voicemail as well. I always forget about it, and then I do not have, in all fairness, do not have the number committed to memory, but the phone lines are always open at Adventures in Collecting. And I'm going to tell you what that phone number is as soon as I figure out how to get it to show on my screen here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So you can always call Adventures in Collecting at 1-973-750-8256. So yeah, you can always leave us a voicemail.
That
Uh
is nobody's house.
yeah,
So
yeah. You are going to go straight to voicemail every time. So you you are not calling anybody. You're not. It doesn't matter why, or it doesn't matter what time. Doesn't matter. You feel free to call. Leave us a voicemail. Um, yeah, that's always good. And we check it. So anytime we get any funny voicemails or any kind of good nuggets there, we'll make sure that we share them here on the episode. So I think with that, that takes care of any other housekeeping. We usually don't have like a housekeeping section because usually we get right into our guest.
yeah,
Um, let's see, this is gonna air. Okay, so one other thing I guess to mention in August coming up, our first uh well, not first, but our first big, I guess you could say, big convention at the Javits Center for the year. Coming up in August is Anime NYC. So we'll be there at least a day, potentially to see what's going on with our friends at Bondi and all the other amazing brands that will be at Anime NYC. It's always a good little primer in August. Get the legs working, get us ready for the New York Comic Con trot. So yeah,
yeah,
look for some live coverage from Anime NYC, or if you're in the area and you're headed to Anime NYC, keep an eye out for us and come say hi. But
hmm
yeah, I think with that, that takes care of all the housekeeping for
yeah.
good.
I think the house has been kept.
Yes, house kept. Check.
And if anybody hears any like thud, that's me putting my water down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Good. Thanks for clarifying. There was like a weird like sonic boom in New Jersey today. Everyone thought there was an earthquake, but apparently it was
Oh,
just a some sort of jet or something, which was interesting. My the if anyone else out there has like a ring doorbell, the like ring doorbell like community, it's always funny when something happens. It's like everyone tries to like become a little armchair detective and figure out
yeah.
what the disturbance was. Um,
I
yeah,
missed it. So
yeah, well, it was a big old sonic boom. You got really loud all of a sudden.
yeah, I leaned in. I wanted to make sure my microphone was doing what it was supposed to.
Definitely is doing what it's supposed to. Thank you for that.
Okay, good.
All right, so on to the top 10. We're not gonna do any honorable mentions this year. But I guess I'll start by just saying how I did my list this year. I did it a little bit differently than I've done it the past couple times. Typically I pick an individual figure, like just a figure. It doesn't matter if it was part of a multi-pack, a playset release, something, but just a figure that came out and or was released in the first half of the year. Um, and I made sure that in previous years I could only pick one figure from a specific line, like had to kind of spread the love, if you will. Um, this year there were just too many things that made that rule. Too many things that I loved, like loved that came out that completely annihilated that rule, and I didn't want to hold myself to that kind of self-imposed barrier. So this year um I'm doing it as a release. So if it was a multi-pack, one pick encompasses everything that came in that multi-pack. So if there's a 3-pack, a 2-pack, a 4-pack, a 5-pack, whatever, um, if I pick it for one of my slots, everything that came in that pack is part of that consideration. Um, so my list will be more than technically 10 figures this year because of that. and there will be some repeating brands. So those are my guidelines. I bought it and or received it in uh in the first half of 2024, so January through June. And then yeah, it has to be a release. So yeah. Dave, what
Is it
about
my turn?
your
Okay.
yeah, what about your rules?
So I go by the modified Dan Larson rules, the original version, I believe. It had to have been something that came out within this past year, or at least that I think came out in this past year, um, or in this past half year in the instance. I definitely had to buy it this year. Um, if it was something that was given to me, it would have had to have been something I would have bought. Um, and multi packs, all that good stuff is one pick.
Cool.
And
Um,
shout out to Dan.
Shout out to Dan. Indeed, we got some FaceTime with Dan earlier this year. What a guy. Um,
Couple times.
yeah. Breaking news, by the way, it was not a sonic boom. Apparently, a meteor burnt up in the just outside of New York City, like 29 miles above Manhattan, like a
Do
big
do
ol'
not
meteor.
touch it. Don't touch it. Don't dump water on it. You will turn green and mossy.
Yeah. If we've learned anything from Stephen King, I don't know if any pieces of it landed. I think what we heard was like the rumble of it burning up in the atmosphere, but apparently it stopped 29 miles above Manhattan. So, what a time to be alive. Just lots of things happening right now. All right. Dave, so I guess do you want to be the first pick here? Do you want to do your number 10 first, or would you like me to do my number 10 first? You
I
pick.
could I could start. That's fine.
All right, well get us
No
rolling here.
no issue here. So this is a spot that um I was torn on this spot. I wanted to get these on here, or at least one of these. And like I said, shout out to Dan. I know we're not doing any honorable mentions, but um, it was a toss up between um, Dan's figure and this one, but I went with the Toy Pizza Toy Pizza Expo 2024 exclusive of Silver Goss because I love my Toy Pizza chunky diver looking dudes, and Silver Goss was just another in my collection of divers, or big, just like mammoth dudes that look like divers, and I loved it. That was my decision to get one of those. I mean, it's everything you love. If you go back to everything I thought about Perfect Diver, it's right up there with it. Um, but also the Dark Hawk was awesome too, which was the Secret Galaxy combo. But the Silver Goss barely won out. Both figures fantastic though.
Yeah, I mean I don't buy a whole lot of Toy Pizza Knights of the Slice figures, but every single one of the ones that I do have, I thoroughly love. The one that I had you pick up for me at Toy Pizza Con. I'm blanking on his
Expo.
name, or Toy Pizza Expo. That's right, the anti-con. Somewhere Jesse is just rolling his eyes at me. The one that you picked up for me was awesome too. That like weird like
I forget his name.
he was like a gold and tan.
Ikor Alexander or
Yeah,
Ikor.
super cool with like that like mutated looking Resident Evil esque zombie arm and um yeah
I like this guy because he had a silver and like orange look to him. It almost looked like he was like a lava diver in a way.
yeah, no, it was a great pickup, great, absolutely great pickup. um yeah, I love the exclusives that they have that Jesse puts together there every year. There's something for everybody. There's always a little
Mm-hmm.
something for everybody. Great pick, Dave. Great pick to
Thank
start
you.
us off here. Um, All right. So my number 10 pick is it's my number 10 on the list, but by no means how do I put this? So it's number 10 on my list, but I'm pretty sure it's the most surprising pick for myself and probably for our listeners. But number 10 is the most surprising pick. The figure that caught me off guard the most, the thing that I was not expecting to kind of like fall in love with. It's very like off brand for me, if you will. It's not a character that I am particularly crazy about. Not a huge fan of this legendary wrestler. Um, but this figure is just it's amazing. And it took me back to my childhood playing with your very loved wrestling figures. And it's just such an iconic moment in wrestling, captured in a way that this moment has never been captured before. Our friends at the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, a friend of the pod, Kanik, and Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, they have an amazing thing going with their Major Bendies line and now their Big Rubber Guys line. And my number 10 pick is the wheeling, the dealing, the styling, the profiling, Big Rubber Guys, Ric Flair. From that
In the suit.
from that iconic promo, the Rolex wearing, son of a gun. Just it's such a good figure. Um, it was the first Big Rubber Guy that I actually ever had and got to see in hand. Take out of the box. It from everything. Their entire model is just incredible. The way the figures smell, the way they feel, the heft to them, the resealable packaging, the attention to what they're doing with the sculpt, um, and the design work on the figure. So between TTD and I believe their new sculptor, his name is Brian Beatty,
Yeah.
Baity, Beatty. Um, what they're doing with these figures are just incredible. Uh, it's such a to use a I guess it's a Gen Z term. It's such a nostalgia bomb. Each figure is just it takes you back to a moment, and I mean, like I wasn't even you were those were your figures, those
Mm-hmm.
LJN WWF
Yeah.
superstars, but they just elicit that same kind of emotion. And I remember clashing together those old ones back in the day, and yeah, it just takes you right there. And having you know kind of that modern uh thought behind making some of these guys in their promo gear as opposed to just like in their ring gear applied to that old format, it hits a real sweet spot for me. And that Ric Flair figure is definitely something special. So that is my number 10, Big Rubber Guys, Ric Flair.
No, they nailed it. They've nailed it with those so far, for sure. So my next one, my number 9. We are going into the vault, Eric.
Oh boy.
The Jazzwares vault.
Okay.
Um, in the immortal words of Lady Gaga, "Show me your teeth," because we finally got a Danhausen with teeth. Ring of Honor Danhausen, from the Jazzwares vault. It's a little different than your standard AEW releases. He comes with the teeth. He's more geared towards his Ring of Honor era, the pre-pandemic era Danhausen, and I mean it's difficult, I think, at this point to make Danhausen a bad Danhausen figure. I think that's like it's got to be difficult because he's probably one of the most, if not the most toyetic wrestler out there now.
Yeah.
And I mean, just the head portraits, you have the curse hands, all that good stuff, but like even the I think the tattoos are like current for Ring of Honor era. Danhausen. It's just a phenomenal figure. And it's, I always appreciate with wrestling figures, it's a tiny statue of that person.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this makes the grade for that. But again, another 4 for 4 on Danhausen's
Four for
from
four housing.
Jazzwares.
4 for 4 housing. Um. So, my next pick, number 9.
And my first prop of the night. But
Oh yeah, this is true. Um. My next pick, number 9, is another one that caught me off guard, but I shouldn't have been this surprised. Based on what we know about the people who are putting these figures together, the Nacelle Company, and Brian Volkweiss and Brian Adams and the rest of the team there at Nacelle are doing an incredible job with bringing some of these cult classic properties to life, and each time, each release, their figures get better and better and better and better. And the entire Biker Mice from Mars series was fantastic. But Throttle, the leader, is my pick at number 9. Um, just an amazing figure. I'm so excited to get the bike. I can't wait for that to come. Hopefully, it's before the end of the year. Looks like it might be, if not the end of the year, beginning of next year. But really excited to get the bike in hand, and get Throttle on there. But I loved the cartoon. I had some of the old figures back in the day, and I'm excited to see what they do with this kind of Nacelle-verse idea, and more figures. Moo Mesa is up for pre-order now. If you haven't taken a look at that, definitely do it. But yeah, that's my number 9 pick, hot dog and all. Nacelle, Biker Mice from Mars, Throttle.
number 8 for me, another online exclusive. Or so far we're really, I'm on the exclusive train, although that's going to stop soon. But this one was one of those I didn't realize. I knew this was something that I wanted, but I just didn't realize like what it was going to look like or how it was going to come together. And I was very, very happy with the result. And this is going to be the Mattel Creations exclusive WWE Legends of the Territory era 4-pack. You've got Superstar Billy Graham in there. You've got Muhammad Ali. You've got Gorilla Monsoon, which, a first ever wrestling Gorilla Monsoon figure. And then you've got Harley Race. And it's Harley with the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship belt, which is just wild to me. But just an awesome 4-pack. And it really represents like an era that's barely been touched with action figures. You've got a couple Brunos out there. You've had the previous Billy Graham. And there's not much else as far as like, truly an old school figure. There's a couple things that you can kind of 2-in-1, but there's not much that dips into that 60s 70s era. So it's really cool that this does, and hopefully it opens the door for more.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting another territory era belt with uh what's his name? Not Big Boss Man.
Oh, Big Bubba.
Big Bubba, right? We're getting another territory belt there.
Yeah, the UWF championship.
Yeah, with that Legends 23 release, which at the time of this recording, or at the time of this airing, just passed the street date at your local Target. So
Yeah,
go
and
look for
it's
that.
like we had the um Terry Gordy Executioner, all that stuff, but like there's never been anything that's gone back,
Yeah.
super back. Because even that Big Bubba, it's an '80s figure.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So hopefully more to come in that
And the
department.
Harley is the standout for me.
That was gonna be my next question. If you had to pick one from the set, which is the one
It's
that
Harley.
does it for you? Yeah. Mutton chops and all, right?
Yeah, and the old robe, like,
Um, just featured on WWE Treasures not too long ago. That robe.
nice. Yeah, they had the robe on display at I keep calling it Access, but the
WrestleMania Village.
yeah,
Yeah, I forget what they call it too,
I think
but
it was
it's like Olympic Village.
the world at WrestleMania or something. But
Um, I'm gonna keep the wrestling multi-pack theme going here with my next pick. So my number 8 pick, online exclusive to the Jazzwares Vault. This has been, while Danhausen is the Vault Danhausen that you just showed off was almost in this slot. As it is my favorite Danhausen figure. It's the one that I have on display. This set completely blew me away the first time we saw it, going all the way back to Toy Fair. Um, Seeing the final version of it in hand, uh, completely blew my doors off again. But the Jazzwares Vault, uh, unrivaled Death Triangle 3-pack is my number 8 pick. Um, you get Penta, you get Ray Phoenix, you get Pac, you get the debut of the trios titles there, which is really cool to have that in figure form. You get the international, right? I think that's what it's called,
yeah,
the international title that
hmm
that Pac had at the time. Um, you get, honestly, it's the best likeness of Pac they've done, with like the sculpting, the way that his hair is, his like really severe undercut, how his hair is shaved, the way that it's kind of like stringy and hanging in his face. They did just a fantastic job with it. Um, and I love the colorway on Ray and Penta. The black and silver just really really pops, and huge shouts to Chris Metzger and Steve, uh, on the Jazzwares packaging team, because they absolutely crushed the trifold look of the way that the boxes and everything. Just a hell of a set. I know it's not the first time that those figures have been released as unrivaled, but I honestly think this is the best they've looked. Um, in that series, obviously I know that the Lucha Bros had their Supreme releases, and those are kind of untouchable, but in terms of unrivaled figures, presentation, everything that comes with it, the Death Triangle, they also happen to be my favorite trio in, like, I guess you could say, stable in AEW. I've always loved them, so really really glad to add them to my collection. Number
I'm
8 pick.
curious. I'm curious if it's the slightly different mold for when the belt was the All Atlantic title
I don't have it in front of me at the moment.
compared
That's why
to the
I'm not.
orange one.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's technically all Atlantic or international.
If
I'd
he
have to
had
look
it,
at it
it's
again.
technically All Atlantic, but I'm curious, and
So that's probably
that's
what
a
it is. I mean, I
that's a
don't think.
question for Magic. But yeah,
I mean, they're not going to put the wrong belt on him. So it's
it's the same belt, but yeah,
yeah, but yeah, great set. So that's my
just
number
one
8
plate.
pick.
But yeah, so my number 7 pick is a figure that I didn't think I was gonna get, and there were really two things that got me got this to the register for me, and with me. And this is my second prop of the day. You can't see it, but um, one was 1000% the biggest hit of nostalgia ever, and the second one was what you get for the price, and that's how it made this list. Um, Rise from your
Oh my
grave.
god, I forgot that even existed.
The Jax Pacific. They're Sega figures. I don't think, and I have the card right here. There's no like Sega kind of, I'll say, like branding on it. There's just each game, but Altered Beast Werewolf. Um, this is like super articulated for a $10 figure.
Yeah, those little uh
It's
Jax figures are crazy.
they're double jointed knees and elbows. Like the head moves. There's ab crunch. It kind of doesn't really twist other than at where the ab crunch is, but like bicep swivel, butterfly joints. Like this thing's ridiculous, and it's pretty great. And it just all it did was, and it comes with the little ball that he gets when he does gets powered up. But like for a character that barely moved in a video game and
Yeah.
just like shot a punch at you and did like the sweep kick, this thing is awesome. It's a cool little werewolf.
Yeah, it
And
was like one of those single frame sprite switches, right? Where it was like
yeah,
standing, arm out.
it moves like there's a little animation to it. But also, like I was never really a huge Genesis person. The first time I owned a Sega Genesis was the Sega Genesis Mini.
Yeah.
And but Altered Beast is one of my it's not a great game, or I think it's a great game, but it's one of those ones where people are like, "Oh, that's not a great game," and it's really short. It was an arcade game. It wasn't supposed to be long.
Yeah.
Um
It was a
I
port.
love yeah, I love that game. I love Golden Axe too. I wish there were Golden Axe figures, but this rules. Like I'm sitting there like, oh, are they gonna make the dragon? Like, but the werewolf's my favorite character because it's level one. Um, but yeah, if you get the Jax, let's get some Golden Axe out there. But the werewolf from Altered Beast #7.
Yeah, I think the three figures in that wave are Super Monkey Ball. I forget what the little chimp is called. He has a name, but
Mm-hmm.
it's Super Monkey Ball,
Streets of
Streets of
Rage
Rage, Axel, and
and
then
Werewolf.
Werewolf from Altered Beast. Yeah, it's a hell of a wave. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those figures pack a punch because even like their Nintendo ones, like the of the same that like they did like a Samus, a Link, and a Zelda. Um, they're ridiculous. Like that Samus figure has double jointed everything. Like, yeah, it banger
Like
banger of a figure.
this has me really stoked for some Simpsons figures
Yeah, yep, yep. That you may have picked up too
that I
late to
may or
feature
may
on
not
this
have
list.
bought hours before recording this, but
Um,
said that they don't count for the first half of the year.
my number seven pick is also a smaller scale figure. Um, a figure that has been absolutely long overdue. Um, one of the most iconic women characters in the history of film. Uh, the vintage collection, A New Hope, Princess Leia Organa from her debut in the Star Wars franchise. This figure is just it's stunning. It never ceases to amaze me the amount of detail that they can now put into one of these vintage collection figures. Um, I'm it's no secret that I'm a huge proponent for 3 3/4 inch Star Wars. I think that is kind of like the ideal scale for Star Wars figures. It's the only thing that's reasonable to world build play sets, vehicles, all that good stuff. So I'm really excited with the success of the Cantina funding and this return to Tatooine program that they're cooking up, because there are some core figures for vintage collection fans that have not been delivered, uh, that are, like I said, they're core to Star Wars. So Farm Boy Luke Skywalker, Old Ben, um, Han Solo, Chewbacca. We've not gotten a New Hope versions of those figures, with the technology and the capabilities that they have now. So really, really excited for them to revisit those characters. And Leia's never looked better in figure form here as she does in the vintage collection. So yeah, so she's my number seven pick uh, for this list.
#6. Um, this is one where I didn't even know this was coming out, and then I saw it, and it just hit me right again. It was another a nostalgia bomb, and this was a character that, and to this day, I really am not well versed in this character. Um, I don't know a lot of the lore behind the character. I've never read any books, but when I was a kid, this was one of my favorite figures. And I remember it was a figure that I got like and lost my mind over for whatever reason because I know nothing of this character. But it got put out this year, and it's part of the McFarlane DC Multiverse line. It was a Target exclusive, Red Tornado.
Oh God, I forgot that that figure existed too.
I and like he comes like his stand is like a little tornado. It rules. I love it. Um, but it looks like it just came right out of, and this was my original, what I wanted from my McFarlane figures and what I wanted them to be and what my goal was to collect, which is I just want like big superpowers. And so it's, and again, I maybe I should start looking into reading Red Tornado, but I always just loved the way Red Tornado looked and thought it was a cool figure. And I
I
think,
think he's like an android or like a robot or something.
and this figure I think is really cool too.
So the only touch point that I have with Red Tornado, so the girls discovered um Batman Brave and the Bold
Okay,
on Max. And that's the show that's kind of like uh not too what was the Justice League Justice Friends?
it was the one they did after.
No,
Wasn't
but
the one they
what was the old show with like meanwhile at the
Super Friends?
Super Friends? It's kind of like Super Friends adjacent, so it's that same kind of like campy, hokey. Um,
Because wasn't that the show they did for Batman after the Justice League cartoon?
it's the one where
Like they did the Batman, but then
yeah,
this is,
the Batman was still like dark.
yeah, but this
This
was the other one.
yeah, and it's the actor I'm blanking on his voice actor's name, but he was in the Drew Carey show. Um,
Diedrich Bader?
yeah, he's
That's who usually
Batman.
does.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's Batman in this. And there is a very funny Christmas episode with Red Tornado. Um, you should watch that. Look it up on Max. That
I will, because I like those.
yeah.
I like the older, like 90s, early 2000s ones. So,
Yeah, this feels like it has that sort of like takes place in the 60s kind of vibe to it. Like
yeah. And that's
they cross over with Scooby Doo as well.
and that's what I
Um,
remember seeing, like that it was going to be like more of a throwback.
yeah, it's great. It's great. There's actually honestly, it's outside of any episode of Batman the animated series. There's an episode of that show. We'll talk about it offline. That's like one of my favorite half hours of Batman television. Um, all right, so my next pick, number 6, is a 2-pack. Um, when the Marvel team puts out a Hulk figure, especially of like the Hulk, Bruce Banner, um, it's hard for me not to include it on a list. And this year they checked one off the box for me that I have been wanting for a very, very, very long time. One of the most iconic covers that the Hulk has ever appeared on, as Joe Fixit. They got this figure out as part of the Wolverine celebration capsule that they're doing this year program. So it's the 2-pack Marvel Legends Joe Fixit and Patch rocking their white tuxedos. Again from that iconic Wolverine comic cover. Uh, just two awesome figures. I love me some Gray Hulk as much as I love Big Green, and the Joe Fixie character is just hilarious to me. Him basically being a glorified bouncer will never not be hilarious. Um, yeah, and it's just an amazing 2-pack. It does everything you need it to do. You can almost pose for pose recreate the cover. He doesn't. The one thing Marvel, Hasbro, get Hulk needs some butterfly joints that go forward. He's got the butterfly joints that go back, but he can't cross his arms or do the gamma clap because the butterflies don't rock forward. Like his pecs are so big that his arms can't go all the way. They you gotta let's next Hulk. Let's get those forward butterflies, guys, so that way we can do a little bit more with Hulk. But amazing set, love it. I don't know what else there is to say about it. I think that's it. That's my number 6 pick.
So my number 5 pick is, and I think there's still another person from this that I have to get. But it is not only like a figure that I was looking forward to and looking forward to getting and very excited about, but it was like a movie moment that I actually, as soon as I heard um, this character's real name uttered in a movie, I yelled at the top of my lungs, like couldn't control my happiness in the theater. Um, and it was one of those ones like where my fiance was like, "Really, he's your favorite?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he is." Eric, who's my favorite Spider-Man?
Oh, 2099.
Yep, and
Miguel.
Miguel. As soon as it was Miguel, I'm like, ah, like yelling at the end of Into the Spider Verse. So when the SH Figure Arts Spider-Man Across the Spider Verse, Spider-Man 2099 came out, I was super on board. Um, it rules. It's looks like he came right off of the screen. He's got these like got the big bulkiness about him. Deluxe figure, which rules, and especially when you put him next to Gwen and Miles, like he is enormous compared to them. It's a great figure, and I'm looking forward to the continuation of the story in the last movie. But I think I've I've wanted like a 2099 figure for a while. That was just a comic book series that I read and loved when I was a kid. I jumped on from like the beginning. It was the best 2099 book. But
Oh, by leaps and bounds.
yeah, but for whatever reason, like Miguel's been my favorite Spider-Man. Like I think Spider-Man as and that's not to like knock Peter or Miles. Like enjoy Spider-Man. Spider-Man is great. I enjoy the movies, I enjoy the cartoons and the games and all that stuff. But for whatever reason, when I was a kid, that was the coolest Spider-Man to me.
Yeah,
He
I
had like
mean,
the skull on,
yeah,
and like it was just so cool.
claws. He had like
The like cape, the web cape.
you remember
He's
the
a
Toy Biz.
vampire.
Remember the Toy Biz figure came with that like weird giant flaming axe
Hmm.
for no
That made
reason.
no sense. He's a vampire. Like so cool.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's an incredible character, and Oscar
And
Isaac
Oscar Isaac.
just doing a great job with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, guy does not miss. He does not miss.
And
Um,
that's been a line. The Spider Verses, I've enjoyed them. They're great.
yeah, yeah, you have almost all of them.
I think they made a Spider Punk too,
Yeah, I think they did.
comma two. And I
Yeah,
gotta look for.
yep. All right, halfway through the list. So this is my number 5 pick. Um, NECA has had another incredible year. I mean, there's been a ton of stuff in the first half that could have very easily made this list. But there was one figure, and you said it before. It's awesome when a figure looks like, especially if it's something from like a movie, looks like that character stepped off the screen and walked onto your shelf. And NECA does a very good job with that. Um, generally speaking, and they've put out some incredible things this year. But they're earlier on in the year, very early in the year, their ultimate Nosferatu figure completely blew my doors off. It is just an absolute work of art of a figure. Um, from you know top of the head to tip of the toe. Everything that figure comes with, the accessories, the different heads, the hands, the different types of like elongated fingers, the fact that you can get it literally into the pose to create the shadow on the wall, like the way that it is in that original film, um, has me very hyped for the new uh, Nosferatu film. It's coming out on Christmas of this year. That silent film, if you have not seen it, it's in public domain. You can just go to the Internet Archive and watch a beautiful 4K restoration of it right on your computer. Um, but yeah, highly recommend you check it out if you haven't. And the figure is just a stunner. If you're headed to New York or San Diego Comic Con this year, they have a special glow in the dark variant of this Nosferatu figure on the Remco card back. Um, if you missed out on the Ultimate Edition, can't find it, and you happen to be at Comic Con, check that version out as well. But yeah, it's my number 5 pick, Nosferatu.
Number 4. I mean, just gonna put it out there already. Bill, standing ovation, round of applause. So far, after 20 series, 20 plus, this is the ultimate thus far. And what happened to be really cool is there was a bit of a character change or a look change or a temperament change for this individual, and this figure came out at the right time and is a crowning achievement for. And I'm not, this is, I think, one of the best ultimates of all time, if not the so far. Um, It is Mattel WWE Ultimate Edition Series 20 Asuka. You've got the long flowing cape, jacket, entrance jacket. Really just nailed Asuka's expressions. It's the best encapsulation of Asuka so far as a figure. There have been some other ones that are really good. This is the best Asuka figure so far. You've got the removable mask. You've got kind of like smiling, laughing Asuka, unhinged Asuka, as the kids would say these days, and it's just hands down, I think the best Ultimate figure so far.
So this was my number 3 pick. So
Okay,
I'll say what I have to say about it now. Um, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it is by far crowning achievement is I think that is dead on, nail on the head there. This figure is unbelievable. It
there are
is,
a couple coming out that are going to give it a run for its money, but right now,
yeah, I think as it
just
stands, I think it's the best um it's the best ultimate figure I think they've ever done. I think that's absolutely fair. And me, I mean, she's my favorite female wrestler in any organization, and I've been begging for an ultimate Asuka figure since I started, since I had gotten back into wrestling. Um, and then when she debuted, that came back as like the Kabuki clown. I remember both of us. We were sitting there.
Murder Clown Asuka.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this is all right. This is the one that if you're gonna do it, Bill, pull the trigger, buddy, because this is
Mm-hmm.
this is the one to do it on. And yeah, he absolutely. And the thing is too, like there are engineering details on this figure, like because she has a little bit of a broader frame, they were able to give her proper butterfly joints. Um, yeah, just so good, so good.
Yeah, it's almost like I wish I'm happy the other Asukas that have been made didn't have as much accessory and all that stuff, so that way this one got made.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean that
The cape
Elite,
I know was something he wanted for a long time.
yeah, and the Elite that came out, that was kind of around the same time she was tag team champions with Charlotte
Mm-hmm.
for a bit. I mean, for a while that was the best she'd ever looked, in Elite form. But this completely just blows that out of the water, and uh I'd like to take this opportunity. She's not listening, but speedy recovery, Asuka. We miss you.
Absolutely.
Can't wait for you to come back healthy and ready to kick some butt. Um all right, so number 4, right? So I had to jump ahead
Mm-hmm.
to talk about that. So number 4, uh man, I'm surprised it took us that long to cross over. I thought this year there would be a little more crossover, but there's not.
I I thought so too, but I knew that for sure.
Yeah,
I knew
yeah.
that one for sure.
So my number 4, again, GI Joe Classified Series is a line of figures that just doesn't miss. Every single one that comes out is incredible,
Mm-hmm.
but every now and then they put out something that's just like a little bit extra. um a little bit unexpected. A thing you see in person, you second guess, you know, whether or not the sky is blue and the ground is hard, because it's just like, wait, I didn't think this could be this cool. Um and for me that was the deluxe metalhead figure that they put out not too long ago, just a few months ago. um I mean, he's got thigh rockets, Dave. He has thigh rockets. He has shoulder rockets. He has like a shoulder harness, like Firefly esque shoulder harness rocket system. He fires rockets from his thighs. He's got a badass helmet. He's got a sweet mullet with like sunglasses, and just like he is just an absolutely unhinged iron grenader. Um, yeah, I mean it's or Iron Grenadier. I think it's Iron Grenadier.
I think it is
Um,
too.
he's just amazing. Just an absolutely amazing figure. All the effect pieces you could possibly want. He's got like these little tiny rockets with flame effects attached to them. When you pose him all together, it's unbelievable. It's one of my favorite GI Joes they've ever done in the classified series, and it's not one that I was like super jazzed about when they announced it. It wasn't one that don't remember that we had him back in the day. If we did, I certainly didn't play with him, but yeah, I mean, just an
I don't remember.
absolute banger of a figure. And there's more Iron Grenadiers coming. They released the officer is up for pre-order, and eventually they're gonna have to put out some version of Destro to an Iron Grenadier version of Destro to go with these guys to boss them around. So you know, hopefully that's coming soon. But lots of cool stuff in the GI Joe classified pipeline. They're going to announce their next HasLab at at San Diego Comic-Con. So should be should be fun. But yeah, so Metalhead.
I feel like I had that metalhead,
But
the original.
you're up to number 3.
My number 3. This is going to be another unexpected one, but one that I originally saw and was like, "Oh, I've got to." That I think is really cool. And then I realized it was out, and I'm like, "Oh, I got to get that. Is it still available? Okay, cool. I got to get that." And there are others in this line, and that I'll say adjacent developer relatives of this line that I might want to dabble in as well. Um, but it is one of my favorite, most difficultly punishing games of all time. Um, the Blue Bomber himself, Mega Man. We saw the Jada Toys Mega Man at Toy Fair, and I was like, "Yo, this rules! Like, I need to get this." And so I did, and it perfectly. I keep we've been saying perfectly encapsulates a lot during this, but I think that's part of what makes collecting and makes what we do like so so much fun is when the figure absolutely nails the aesthetic and what it's trying to come across, and I love it. I'm always been a big Mega Man fan. I haven't played some of the newer 8-bit reimaginings. I'll say I feel like I was kind of done after 6 when the NES was done, but and the Game Boy ones too. But as a kid, I loved Mega Man, and I don't think I ever beat a Mega Man, but I loved renting it and getting frustrated and like playing those games and trying to figure out like whose powers I'm supposed to use and
I think the
never beating one. But
I,
I loved Mega Man,
I think the closest I ever got to beating one was the stupid Game Boy one, like the OG Game Boy one.
and those are great. And those are on what's it called now? NSO.
Yeah, yep. But yeah, I just realized I think Mega Man and Iron Man shop at the same boot store.
They may. But I'm looking forward to like Elecman is coming, and I loved you shoot the lightning bolts like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
And you've got they announced a couple other villains and also like
Well, Iceman and Fireman were series 1, right? Or was it
yeah,
Iceman and Cutman?
no, Iceman and Fireman. Yeah,
Fireman.
yeah.
So it's another Mega Man
Yeah, but
using one of the
yeah,
powers, the
using
power,
one of the powers. Yep.
and Elecman and Cutman, I think.
And the cool thing, I think it's Woodman actually
Is it?
is one of the next ones. Because I remember thinking like, why didn't they do Cutman? Because he's got the cool like scissor head. I don't think he's been announced yet. But it's
No, it's Elecman and Cutman.
is it okay?
Yeah,
But the I like that
and then Hyper Bomb
the
is
new
the powers.
I like that the new Mega Man comes with like a de-helmeted head.
Oh,
So he
Cutman's wild too because the blade comes off his head.
yeah yeah very very cool.
Yeah,
Um,
those I love Mega Man 1.
all right, so we talked about my number three, so I'm gonna jump right ahead to my number two. Um, and it's actually funny we're talking about Capcom and Mega Man, because this figure fits right in with a universe that Mega Man also exists in. So
This was the Capcom adjacent I think I was talking about.
maybe I don't know. Not Jada Toys.
Oh, okay.
So friend of the pod, Ryan Ting over on the Marvel Legends team, loves to kind of blur the lines of what is possible sometimes when they pick what figures they want to design. And this year they were able to deliver on something that I was hoping that one day they would eventually be able to do. Um, and it is my favorite look for Cable. Um, the totally not based on the Marvel versus Capcom video game series Cable, rocking the blue and yellow, with the full sleeve on the what was that, his left arm. Um, it's just an absolute gorgeous figure. He's huge and hulking and barely fit in that on that in that box, in the with a standard size figure would normally be. But the detail is just amazing on him. Everything from his 5 o'clock shadow to the burst in his eye. But he looks like he walked right out of Marvel versus Capcom, and they're doing a really great job of kind of thinking outside the box in terms of trying to hit some of these deep cuts. Like, I've been sitting here noodling the entire time with Iron Man suit number 9, which is totally, yeah, I'm sure it's been in a comic or in a cartoon at some point, but it's totally Iron Man from the Captain America and the Avengers arcade game, which I now have the full cast of, which is amazing. I have the West Coast Avengers Vision, Cap, the Hawkeye with the Sky Sled, which is hilarious, and now Iron Man, but um with what Jada Toys is doing with their Street Fighter figures, um, now there are some Marvel Legends components that are coming out with those Capcom figures, and you can start to do some fun things in your display. So
And
um,
especially with the games coming back out, like
yeah,
that collection being
yep.
released. That's
and
gonna be fun.
they did I don't have it because it again, like, this is my video game Iron Man, this suit number 9, but the deluxe Iron Man that they put out last year with the giant shoulder cannon that he could hold
Hmm.
with the giant blast, I mean, that was very clearly a nod to something in particular as well without overtly saying it. So yeah, they're doing a great job with that. So hopefully there's more to come. And also recently announced Build a Figure Blackheart fits into that as well as a
Yeah,
Marvel versus Capcom character. So
fits into a couple things.
yep. So very, very cool. So yeah, so that's my number 2.
All right, so my number two. This is a figure that like. So how do you make a figure that was a lot of people's favorite figure of the year better? Um, One is, you know, of course, try to get it back out there. But the other thing that is just like really crank up the accessories and make it like make a creepy, scary figure almost creepier and scarier. Um, and there are some of this person's teammates who have been released that are going to have the face paint component involved, or have been released and had their own outstanding figures, by the way. But this was an awesome re-release that I need to pick up because I missed out the first time. Um, but there was still like a really cool component and really great packaging too. Really kind of hits that death metal hardcore aesthetic, and that is Jazzwares Vault. We're going back to the vault. AEW Supreme Malachi Black. You got the cool like face painted version, and like you know that original Supreme. That's the Supreme I'm sad I missed the most because that Supreme ruled. But so did this one. They like kind of cranked it up by giving you more in the head portraits.
Yep. And
And that is my number two.
some of their best tattoo work too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, Malachi and Brody are
yeah.
covered, and they are. I mean, the deco is unreal on this set.
All right. So before we hit our number ones, I mentioned that we would give some shout outs to some of our suggestions here. So since we asked our followers what was their favorite figure before we read our number ones, I'll take a minute to go through some of these, Dave. So
Okay.
friend of the pod, best, well, we'll say, I think he graduates to best friend of the pod. Toy Farce mentions
Hmm.
the Mezco TMNT set, so the 4-pack of the comic turtles
Okay.
that was beloved by many people. Very hard to get, very expensive, but yeah, very cool. Um, okay, so the Sunny Channel. So shouts to Sunny in down in Texas. Um, SH Figure Arts Berserker, the armor figure. So that was a big release from Bandai and Tamashii Nations. We've got blurred underscore Baron underscore the Marvel Legends movie Carnage. So yeah, for some people that snuck in right before the July cutoff. Um, eight and skate.
Okay.
I like that. Says Marvel Legends Scarlet Spider. Very, very almost made my list. Almost made my list. That figure is ridiculously good. On that retro card. We've got Cloud underscore network says Mythic Legions Thrace Wraith Hailer.
Great
Sure.
name.
Great name. Would not want to meet Thrace Wraith Hailer in Dark Alley. Krago underscore Neil, the NECA Feral Predator from Prey. There's been a couple of releases of that this year. I have the standard one, which was awesome, but there's also been the NECA Holothon one, which was like sort of bloodied and half translucent. Pretty cool. Um, Transformers underscore collections says Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee. I believe that is referring to. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I believe it is referring to the cartoon, the animated film, in the Studio Series line, the '86.
Oh, that's not the new one, the original.
No, yeah, I think it's the '86 one that just came out. They finally, not finally, they've had ones that are really good in bot mode or really good in vehicle mode, and apparently this one is like nails both of them.
Okay.
E underscore two bros. Nacelle Biker Mice from Mars. Couldn't agree with you more, man. You They made the list. Super Game Boy ADV, so we'll say Super Game Boy Advance, I guess. The Jada Toys Dalsum from Street Fighter.
Yeah,
I've seen
that's what I was talking about, possibly dipping into.
yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures of that figure specifically, and yeah, it is really cool with
The the
those
deco
six.
on those Street Fighter figures is
Yeah,
really good.
the one I have a couple or a few. I have Chun Li, I have Ryu, I have Ken, and I have Fei Long. Um,
The Ryu, like the gi on him,
yeah,
is
it's
just
insane. I would
the texture
love
on it.
I would love to find a Bison at some point, and then eventually when they make him, because they've announced they've shown all of them in prototype form, but I would love M Bison, and I would love Blanca.
Well,
Would be
they're
the
doing Super, so
yeah,
Vega is up there for me.
yep, Vega, Sagat they've shown off. Yeah, Cammy I think. All right, couple more, and then we'll get to our two. So, friends of the pod at Power of X Men, Paul. He also says the Marvel versus Capcom cable. So, yep. Spawn 2504, the animated. All right, so this is DC Direct McFarlane. So McFarlane Toys DC Direct animated Two Face from the new Batman Adventures. Those are cool figures.
They are
Those are
very
really cool
cool.
figures. Cal at Side Fig Gig, the new Ultimate Edition Cody Rhodes with the shell
And
jacket,
the new weight belt.
new weight belt, new torso, and new shell jacket.
Okay, yeah,
And I think that's
I'm looking forward to getting that one.
WrestleMania 39 Cody, right? That's the from when he did not finish the story.
Yes, yes.
And then one more. So D La Guerra 719. The This is an interesting one. So I don't know if you've seen we saw these at the last Toy Insider event we went to, Dave, but the Origin Sketch Turtles by Playmates Toys.
Yes, those are cool.
So those have been hitting. That's another one where they've announced at Comic-Con there will be a Comic-Con exclusive variant of those, black and white with the red bandanas, which I feel like if you're
Hmm.
going to get those,
Yeah,
that's
I feel like that's the move.
that's the move there. So, um, yeah, so really cool. Thank you everybody for submitting your favorites. Since I kind of did two in a row, uh, or I skipped. Why don't you do your number one first, and then I'll do
Okay, I
mine.
can do that.
Yeah.
So my number one, um, we always talk about, again, we take it to nostalgia. This instance is the first time I kind of witnessed this character, um, in a live performance setting. Um, Very much, like Tookie. I still have the second version of this figure, but took a year off from putting it in. I mean, what I think is a well-deserved spot because you know who could be number one other than Papa. So Super Seven Ultimate, Papa Emeritus 3. Um, I mean that's the and I always have trouble saying this album's name, Infestissimum. Um,
I think you got it.
I think I got it, and it's taken a ton of practice to get the car to play the album, and I still don't always get it to work. Play the album with Year Zero, um, but it's just Papa 3 was the first time I saw them when they were still playing small venues, and have deservedly graduated now to arenas and headlining festivals and making movies and all that good stuff. I will not spoil right here, right now for you, But
Appreciate it.
yeah, Papa 3, I love it. Very much looking forward to Papa 4.
Yeah, me too. It's Square Hammer. It's Square Hammer, Papa. It's you know,
Yeah, Pope Star.
yeah.
Pope Star was it for him.
I mean, that's the I think for a lot of people that was their gateway into the band.
With like the
So
white lapels and all that, like
yeah,
so good.
yep, yeah. It's
That
definitely
to me is like quintessential Papa.
yeah. It's
Other than the first one, because how could you like not remember that the first time you see it? But this is like everybody's Papa.
so up until 4, which is now my favorite. Like I guess you could say papal look. Like I love
Hmm.
the turquoise and everything.
And I love that that's the figure too.
Yeah. So the my favorite papal look of Papa was with the green and black, which was Papa 2, which is
Hmm.
what's currently on my display. And my favorite like alternate look, I don't know what like derobed look or disrobed look, I guess you could say, is to this day is still Papa 3. I mean like
Yeah, Papa 3
he
performance mode is
yeah, the best. And that's how I have him displayed on my shelf. But yeah, I
hmm
very very excited for Papa 4. I'm really really hoping we get some faceless ghouls or nameless ghouls. Uh
nameless schools.
nameless ghouls.
I still would love a cardinal. Like
Yeah,
it's
Carnocopia would be
significant
great.
enough where you can't just have Papa 4.
We'll see. And it looks
Mm-hmm.
like we're just getting Papa 4. So but huge shouts to friend of the pod Kyle. Just absolutely crushing it
Killing it
every
with
single
the
one of
ghost
those.
stuff.
Yeah, every single one of those. And his new his dream come true project. He's getting to do his 2003 turtles and they look really good. So,
Mm-hmm.
really
They
excited.
do.
Really excited to add another Donatello to the Oops All Donnies shelf. All right, so that brings us to my number 1. My number 1, I have been waxing poetic about the film that this movie came from since it came out.
The film
Um
the movie came from.
the film the movie came from. Is that what I just said? It's really late.
Yeah,
It's really late.
it is.
The film movie for television screens. No, the film that this figure came from. It's one of my favorite properties of all time, right up there with Star Wars. I have it right here. This figure, since I got it in January, it's never out of arm's reach. It's always close to me. Godzilla -1 SH figure
Yeah.
SH Monster Arts from Bandai. Um, I got this in January, and from Jump Street, it has been the stalwart of my list. Nothing has been able to jump this. They absolutely crushed this figure. The gold, like slightly gold to brown accents on him, the spikes, the gnarls, his feet. Um, there's something to be said about when a figure looks like a model of like the person it's supposed to be, right? Um, you never really get to sit there and like stare at Godzilla long enough on screen. He's always kind of moving or like doing so like being able to just kind of study the detail of like everything that's going on with this version of Godzilla. Um I now have my two favorite versions of Godzilla are like right next to each other on this shelf at all times. He's right there with my speaking of Kyle before my Super 7 Art Adams Godzilla. Um I'm really excited for the '89 Godzilla that's coming to San Diego Comic Con this year. That's another exciting release because that's my prior to Godzilla -1. That's my favorite Godzilla look. So really excited to have that eventually. But yeah, so that's my number 1. SH Monster Arts Godzilla -1.
I'm bummed I missed that.
Yeah, I got lucky. I got very lucky that I caught it on. And it's funny.
Minus C is out there, which
Yeah, yeah. -C is cool too, but yeah, yeah. I still haven't seen that. I gotta watch that with the minus color. That's coming
mm,
in. It's gonna be on Netflix soon. Um,
yeah.
But yeah, I man, it has been since we have been
And I love
doing.
New Empire too, by the way.
I still haven't seen it.
You gotta watch
I
it.
still have to watch it with because I have to watch it with Maddie. That's the thing. She
Hmm.
so but the this is the first time that we've been doing these lists that a figure I got in January
Hmm.
stayed at number one. So like this he
I
definitely
mean,
broke a
Papa,
record.
I've had for most of the year too.
It's gonna be and even now in July, like there was nothing that I got this year that even sniffed him. Like was not even close to that number one slot. Like so I'm really curious to see when we have this conversation again in January where he is on the list.
Hmm.
Because yeah, it's gonna be really really tough for somebody to unseat him. But yeah, that's it. That's our list. Those are our 20 picks for the first half of the year. And as we always do, at the end of the year, we'll see if any of these picks stay or go. So when we do our read our end of year list, um, we'll reference as we go along where if a figure gets completely bumped off or moves up or moves down.
Yeah, because they can move up, and it's happened before.
Yeah, and I mean sometimes you sit with a figure for a while and you realize like, oh man, I actually I really do like this, or like there's something about this I didn't realize. There are figures that didn't make this list from the first half that you know who knows.
Werewolf moved up, like as the more I played around with them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I mean there were figures I thought when I had them on pre-order I thought for sure would be a lock for the list, and once I got them in
hmm.
hand, it was just there was other stuff out there that that beat it. So, yeah. So we heard from a bunch of you what your favorite figures were, but when we post this on Instagram, on YouTube, feel free to drop by in the comments and tell us what your favorite figure of the first half of the good old 2024 was. Um, but I think with that, Dave, it's time to send us home.
Enjoy the second half of the year, everybody.